Hey everyone, it's and this is the most scuffed 1324 notes rundown that I think I've done since, like, was it May 2021 or something, when I think it was the last time that I had to do patch notes rundown from a phone. So it's a little scuffed. So I do apologize, obviously, for these notes coming out about a day later than normal. It is 1324. It doesn't actually seem like there is that many changes that have actually occurred since the patch preview, so I think that's pretty good. So we're just going to be able to actually breeze right through it. Cast at maximum range toggle. I remember interacting with the writer who had the poll on his Twitter, actually, about this. That was a couple of months ago, and I think I said something in regards to cast at max range and whatnot, and I think I said that I just suggested that it should be a toggleable option, and so it's nice to see that that is actually happening and they did not just go with one way or the other. This is amazing. It will help out with certain champions like Orianna, Karthus. Syndra was a champion that got hit really hard by it, so this is really nice to see. Champions, Hwei basically deserves his own dedicated video, and like I said in the patch preview and whatnot, I think Hwei is the first champion since Vex, and then prior to Vex, I think I basically haven't really missed champions or something in the last decade. And he's the one that I have not done a video on. Seems like he's doing very poorly right now, obviously on launch, but it doesn't matter. Briar was also doing very poorly. He just has an extremely high skill ceiling. W Arise, damage 2 to 77, levels 10 to 18, 50 to 110, plus 55% AP to 2 to 77, levels 10 to 18, plus 50 to 118, plus 55. So, I mean, ultimately, it is really fine. They're giving Azir a little bit more damage back on his soldiers, and the initial impact, once you're 10 to 18, that's where it's coming in. 2 to 77, levels 10 to 18, 10 to 18, and then plus, and the scaling goes up, obviously, in later stages. So, it's pretty fine. I think that, we're going to have to see how the new items end up working out, which is going to be next month, but that is going to be it. Braum, base mana regeneration is increased, R damage, knock-up duration is increased. Braum has some very sharp matchups in his current state. He's extremely strong as a counter-engage into Vanguards and is very weak into most range matchups, so he doesn't really get to do anything true. Base mana regen, the way that you look at this, man, is he's going to get one additional spellcast per recall. That is the way that you look at the base mana regen. That's the way that you interpret that number. So, I mean, take that for what you will. You get one extra spellcast. You're going to have to play hundreds or like 1,000 plus games to ever have an instance where it converts to like either saving a kill or actually getting a kill. And even then, that's not going to necessarily change the outcome of the game. Our Glacial Fissure, minimum knock-up duration 0.3 to 0.6, secondary knock-up duration 0.3 to 0.6. So this is the really big part where the minimum knock-up duration just gets increased for literally no reason. These are really nice buffs for Braum. They obviously help him way more in the Vanguard and the engage matchups than it does help him against the range champions. This doesn't do anything against the range champions. Briar, base armor decreased, attack speed ratio increased, Q damage increased, W bonus attack speed decreased, E damage resistance decreased, healing decreased, R okay, so they're hitting Briar a lot, and what they are intending to do with this is obviously alternate her builds. So Blood Frenzy's attack speed's going down, Q Head Rush is also just going down on the base, so they're making it even more rough there, but the base doesn't really start falling until you start putting points into it. E-Chilling Screen damage reduction is also down by 5%. The healing, however, of the maximum health is also going down by 3%, and now are certain death. So damage is gonna be down by bonus, and yeah, I mean, she's just getting totally nerfed. She's getting 10% magic damage buff to it, which doesn't actually do anything, except for when she has Baron. Galio, Q damage cooldown is decreased, Q Winds of War 12 to 10, 12 to 8, okay. The thing about Galio is there's been points where Galio is obviously like a menace, when he's able to be like a true battle mage in a sense, where his cooldowns are low enough to where he's able to multi-combo chain throughout a fight, and he does pack a punch if he's building like properly AP and not just like full-on tank. Problem with Galio right now is he always had to forego either getting AP in exchange for durability and tankiness or whatnot, or he was a victim of the Zhonya's second thing, which basically if you rush Zhonya's second in a competitive game, you'd finish Zhonya's second, around 20 minutes or something like that, and by the time you end up finishing it, now you're stuck on that exact same power level for about the next 12 to 14 minutes, and that's a really big problem for Galio if he doesn't have a lot of utility. Now, ability haste is going to be harder to come by in the new items. We have seen stuff like that on Twitter and elsewhere, And so even though he is getting CDR given into his base kit here, what does that actually mean when the new items come out? Because Galio might just land in the same spot that he's in right now, and that would be bad. Okay, so let's take a look at Gragas. Passive cooldown now decreases with level. Passive happy hour, 12 seconds to 12 to 6 seconds at levels 1, 6, 11, and 16. The real big things here happen at levels 1, 6, 11, they happen at level 6, 11, and 16 not so much, but 16 is still noticeable because he is just getting hundreds of extra HP for free in late game team fights. The real big thing is that he is being given a ton of HP for no reason in laning phase as soon as he hits 6. There is so much more HP that you have to... He's almost probably... I mean, Gragas... I don't know how many times he's going to proc the passive immediately level 6 if he hadn't just recalled, but definitely from like 6 to 10 or something, yeah, you're having to chew through probably like a ruby crystal extra worth of HP when he's proccing this stuff. So it just doesn't make any sense with how much more active he's getting his passive. So very strange overall. Yeah, I mean, it's a massive buff for both tank and AP Gragas. Doesn't really do that much inside of the jungle, but it definitely helps him a lot more in top lane and mid lane. Even support, I guess. Ivern, well, support not as much, he doesn't get as many levels. Ivern, base health decreased, E slow is decreased. These are totally balance changes. They hurt lane Ivern more than they hurt any other lane. The slow reduction means that he'll weave one more auto, or weave one less auto when he's actually trying to trace you with auto attacks with his W. And you also fell victim to the trigger seed. And then the base stats, him losing 25 is basically losing an auto attack or something worth of HP. It's not the end of the world. Ivern is still perfectly fine inside of the jungle. This does not affect any of his clears. So, K'Sante, W mana cost is decreased, damage is increased, Pathmaker. So the mana cost on it is going to be lower early and then increase back to, or well, I mean, it's increasing back to a decent percent. So it's just overall lower across the board, but does go back up to 60 from 80. The damage on it, however, is also going to be the same base-wise. However, now the bonus resistances. So once you actually start accumulating resistance stuff, K'Sante will be, I mean, he'll be a little bit better. So Riot, obviously. I mean, look, I honestly, the K'Sante stuff is very funny on Twitter, and it's very funny everywhere. The reality is that there's lots of counters to K'Sante that exist that people just don't elect to play in matches. And so, yeah, I mean, he does get a lot more hate, just in general, because it's almost like a social construct to dislike K'Sante. Leona. W bonus armor and MR increased, R damage is increased. So the really big thing about this is not the bonus armor. I mean, she's getting a little bit because this is her first mastered ability, but it's not until you have 2 points in it, which is going to be level 4. So, I mean, level 4, getting an extra 2.5 armor and, you know, an extra 2.5 magic resistance, it's not the end of the world at level 4. Sure, she's going to be a little bit tanky. The big thing is the R Solar Flare, because of the durability patch, Leona got a really, really big hit. Alright, she had much more difficulty finding lethal ranges. Now, just getting 50 extra damage onto the R Solar Flare is not going to be enough to push Leona into, you know, some magnificent things. So we're going to have to, again, see new items. We're going to have to see everything going on there. But this is something to keep a mental note of. The other thing that this is important to keep a mental note of is, like, Leona jungle, Leona top lane, right? Because we have to keep a memory of all of the Leona changes and what they'll eventually mean. Lucian, E cooldown is decreased. E Relentless Pursuit, 22 to 14 to 19 to 14. So, I mean, he's able to proc his E a little bit more inside of laning phase. I think in bot lane, where a lot more stuff is just telegraphed and the combos are also dependent on the supports and whatnot, this doesn't mean as much for Lucian. What this really does is for, like, the mid-top lane counter matchups where Lucian comes in, but mostly against Jace. That would be something where it's a lot more prevalent, because he's also just able to be a lot more safe in laning phase and whatnot. So, yeah, we'll move on to the next one. Okay. Mordekaiser, Q damage increased. R now reveals the target upon initial cast. Q obliterate. So this doesn't really matter. Again, it's his Q that's getting buffed. He's getting a 10% AP buff. Mordekaiser builds Nashor's Tooth sometimes as his first item. Okay, that's 100 AP, which means that his obliterate deals 10 more damage. Okay. Mordekaiser's lethal ranges against you are never going to be decided by 10 damage. If it's going to be decided by 10 damage, you messed up. That is just how it is. So now the isolation damage is obviously going to be increased on the obliterate. But again, Mordekaiser doesn't accumulate a lot of ability power in a game anyway, so 10% is extremely small. I mean, in teamfight, sure, when he casts his R on you and whatnot, and he gets an isolated Q, yeah, maybe he gets 2 isolated Qs. You probably shouldn't get 2 isolated Qs, you should probably only get 1. So even then, even if you're factoring in the Obliterate or something, what, you're taking like 50, 60 extra damage in a mid-late stage scenario. I mean, that's the way that you have to contextualize these changes. These are extremely small, they're extremely pathetic. I don't think this really does anything. What it might do is it might hasten his wave clear. I'm unfamiliar with how much HP minions live when he Death Grip Qs. So maybe it hastens his wave clear ever so slightly if he doesn't have Darkness Rises or something going on, but that's pretty much it. The other quality of life changes, whatever. Qiyana, base mana and mana growth is increased. Base mana, 325 to 375, it's getting 50 flat for free, getting an extra ability cast outright inside of the lane. I mean, it's very akin to Braum. Is it going to make or break Qiyana? No, definitely not. The base mana going up, however, does mean that Mura mana, or the Mana Immune build, technically deals a little bit more damage. Very pathetic amount, because, you know, you take the ratio of 80 conversion that it gives you based on mana, and then you add in 50, and you get the actual number, so it's nothing to freak out over. However, the mana growth going from 50 to 60, that's a little bit crazy, because now she's getting 230 mana for free. So getting 230 mana for free, that's a big deal. And she is getting AD by proxy when she does have the Mirror, or the Mana Immune build, technically deals a little bit more damage. Very pathetic amount, because, you know, you take the ratio of 80 conversion that it gives you based on mana, and then you add in 50, and you get the actual number, so it's nothing to freak out over. However, the mana growth going from 50 to 60, that's a little bit crazy, because now she's getting 230 mana for free. So getting 230 mana for free, that's a big deal. And she is getting AD by proxy when she does have the Mirror Mana build inside of her kit. So that's very big. So now in laning phase, it's actually not just 50 mana. You know, by level 4, level 5 or something, she's actually getting 2 full ability casts for free, which is really big for Qiyana. Talon, ranged Q now also resets Talon's attack timer. Qnoxian Diplomacy. Q now resets Talon's attack timer. This is obviously going to be very skill expressive for Talon, so this is very nice, and it helps out all of the Talon players. Vel'Koz, W and E bug fixes. W, avoid rift. Fix bugs where the first half of the rift would fizzle. If Vel'Koz died directly after casting it, that's fine. Tectonic Disruption, these are just bug fixes. This is totally fine, and I think the other changes to Vel'Koz are going to come in a later patch. Zeri, 80 growth increase, W damage increase, so that she's not quite getting 2 longswords of the later stages, and then W, Ultra Shock Laser, 20 to 180, what? 20 to 180, 130% AD, 25% AP, 230 to 190. She's getting 10 base. I mean, these are again negligible changes. Ranked season schedule update. So here's the new ranked season. Season ends on January 9th, pretty much all across the board, depending on like what your region is. So it's going to be really nice. And obviously the new season start is going to be very cool. Arena now finally returns. There's 60 new augments. There's new items. Neferi, Samira, Shaco, Vigar, Lux, Evelyn, and Jhin cameos, and we've added Silas and Thresh cameos. Death is not the end. After a delay, you can revive your dead teammate by standing on their body. That is really cool. It's just kind of like a tag resurrect system. Hex gates have been added to all 4 arenas. A huge amount of class and individual balance changes. Very cool. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be playing Arena. However, you know, there's that maximum party size, 2 to 4 players. No one queuing with blue players. The party will be given the option to select who will be matched with a random player. Very nice. Rating restrictions. Players with a Gladiator rating can now queue with other Gladiator-rated players. Players with 8100 rating or higher can only queue with 1 other player, and players must be within 1,000 ratings of one another to queue together. So this doesn't really matter, because if anyone remembered what happened, it's just the amount of games that you really play in order to climb. I mean, that's one of the issues with Arena and the LP games and everything. So very strange. I'm not going to read all the balance changes, obviously, on Arena. This is not Arena patch notes. I mean, go to definitely Elite 500 if you want to know about Arena. Mythic Shop rotation stuff is going on, and now obviously there's skins. Winter Blessed. These are... Winter Blessed might actually just be the best skin line in... it's one of the best skin lines. You definitely need to give your money on this. So, that's it. This was a scuffed patch rundown, guys. My arm actually feels a little bit weird. I don't know if anyone ever has experience holding up their phone for 14 minutes with, you know, I mean, it does feel really weird. Okay, that's it. And obviously next one is going to be patch 14.1. That is going to be a massive patch. I have not looked at any of the changes for items and everything else that's going on. That's pretty much it. So I will see you guys all in 14.1, and there will probably be videos of me looking at all the changes before that. And there's also a video of me talking about the meta and other types of... there's going to be a proper video, not like a video that's a clip or ripped from my stream where I talk about it. Yeah, that'll be on my main channel. And that is it. So, yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.